Welcome to Service Six Sigma, a live stream for mobile service professionals. Great news, you are here early. Please stand by as our live stream is about to begin. Thank you. Did you know Service Six Sigma has 6 sectors? Here they are: attract, convert, deliver, control, scale, and give back. Would you like to be an influencer for our sponsors? Please reach out to Ben Bergloff, President and Co-founder of Service Six Sigma. We would love to get you signed up.
Catch you before you leave our live stream today. We are in fact live. We are just waiting for our live stream to begin. Please stand by as our live stream is about to begin. We go live at 7 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time every single day, Monday through Friday, except for Saturday and Sunday. That is family time. But thank you for joining our live stream today. Please stand by as our live stream begins and wait and watch our commercials.
Hey, it's Harrison from reachit@futureclean.com. Before Ben and Perry go online, well, you may know him as Perry, I know him as Dad. While he's being semi-retired, I've decided that Reach is going to sponsor Service Six Sigma because it's another way for Perry to be able to give back to the window cleaning industry and service industries in general. So let's get on with the show.
Welcome to Service Six Sigma, a live stream for mobile service professionals. Great news, you are here early. Please stand by as our live stream is about to begin. Thank you. Did you know Service Six Sigma has 6 sectors? Here they are: attract, convert, deliver, control, scale, and give back. Would you like to be an influencer for our sponsors? Please reach out to Ben Bergloff, President and Co-founder of Service Six Sigma. We would love to get you signed up. Please don't forget to send us your favorite videos and photos. We will play them live as we wait for our live stream to begin. Thank you. Service professionals. Great.
We look to the mountains. We don't care if it's only a dream. Nothing is really what it seems anyway.
Welcome to a free live stream built around 6 sectors. This live stream created for mobile service professionals. We would like to introduce you to your hosts, Ben Bergaloff, President of Service Six Sigma, and Perry Tate, Co-founder of Service Six Sigma. Welcome to Service Six Sigma, your live stream for mobile service professionals.
Good morning and good evening to everyone.
Here we are. Okay. All right. So tonight our guest is Jason Geiman, the action man. So, but firstly, I'm just going to quickly summarize Service Six Sigma. It is a live stream, free live stream and podcast for the service industry. So we are reaching out to people from all sorts of industries. And Jason not only is from the pressure washing industry, but also the Christmas lights industry. And then we're looking to cross-pollinate all the ideas of what works and what works for different people. And then the idea is that synchronicity, you might find that somebody's had a life path similar to yours, or is growing into something that you want to grow into, or has grown into something you want to be. And you start pulling all the little gems out of the Service Six Sigma broadcast and apply it to your business and get it better. So that's where the Six Sigma comes in. It's a business term, which is the process of perfecting your business by the elimination of all known risks. So as something like in business, we go expect the unexpected. So as unexpected things happen, you build systems and processes to prevent them from happening again. And that's where your airline industry should be. And that's where the nuclear industry should be, because those are the industries which really, really, really need to be safe. And so it's like that. To help you in your business, we broke your business down into 6 sectors. The first sector is the attracting of the customer, like the social media work, the uniforms, how you wrap your vehicle, door knockers, postcards, all that kind of thing. Once you have attracted the customer, you want to convert the customer. That's your sales process. So it could be online, or it could be on the phone, or it could be in person. It could be door knocking, but that's your sales process. And then we need to deliver. So that's your tools, your technique, your on-site safety, your route management. All of that is in the delivery. And of course, as you go through all these processes and your business starts to grow, you need to be able to control it. So you need systems and processes, admin, CRM, all sorts of pieces of software and apps to help you maximize the performance of your business. When you've got all that together, you can scale the business. You can add more services to your business, and or you can add more trucks to your business so it grows into a bigger business. what we love about being in business is how many people have helped us along the way. And so people gave to us. And so as we achieve certain levels of success, we get this chance to give back. So tonight's guest is Mr. Jason Geiman, who is giving back by sharing everything about his life and journey and business. But I call him the action man. So it is officially 3, 2, 1, action! Jason Geiman, welcome to Service Six Sigma.
What's up, Mr. Perry? I remember Perry back in the day when I first started my business. I went to the huge convention, and that was one of the first times I've got to hear him live. I think it was 2013, maybe 2014. It was in Nashville, Tennessee. And so I have always been a fan of Perry. I've always used his equipment, and so it's always neat to see that I get to come back onto the podcast and actually give some value here tonight. So
yeah, well, I secretly have followed you and you and your brother, because you just keep doing stuff, right? Like you're unstoppable, and you get an idea and you turn it into a reality, and that's like, as we, that is what business is, isn't it?
that is correct. And, it's not always easy. I know a lot of people always ask where the easy button is, and it's not an easy thing to do. But you know what? You got to take action. You got to make it happen, or otherwise you'll just sit there and waste away to nothing at the end of the day. So,
yeah, because time is life, isn't it? So you're either going to do something with your time and have it grow towards, your obviously your values, your family, your church, if necessary, your business, your holidays, your holiday house, your travel, your school system, your education for your kids later on, all that. It all comes from what we did with our time, doesn't it?
And what you learn really fast as you get older, and some of you are getting older, is that time goes by a lot faster, right? My kids, when I first started my business, my 15-year-old now was, 12 or 3 years old. And over time they get older, and you don't realize that you only have so much time with your kids. And, I seen this statistic not too long ago, but by the time your kid turns 18 years old, they are already, you only have 10% left of them from the 18 on. And so you get 90% of your time with your kids within the first 18 years. And, I seen another a thing when you start putting dots on the board of every week. And when you're at 16 years old or 15 years old, you don't get to see your kids much anymore. And so as I'm a big family man. And so I am big on, what are you doing for your family? Now, when I was running my pressure washing business, and, I was a full-time fireman at the time, and I was working 100 hours a week. I was working 56 hours at the firehouse, and I was working 40 hours, 45 hours on the business, because we had 4 trucks running. And whenever you start getting to growth method, things break down and you're not always there. And so after I sold the business, I really came to the realization of, you only got so much time to spend with your kids. You only got so much time to spend with your family. And it is important that you do that. I really do believe that, with your kids, your family, if you have, they always say if you have a happy spouse, you got a happy life or a happy house, right? And so if you're always gone, and, even when I was full time, I was at the point of, I got to do this. I got to do this. But what you realize is the reason why we start a business is to have time freedom. But sometimes we get so caught up in the business that we don't realize that our time freedom is not time freedom. We actually, when we work a job, a job, right? You work 40 hours and you come home, or you work 50 hours and you come home. Well, when you're in business, you can come home and you bring it with you, and you're putting out quotes, you're doing all the things all the time. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have to do this all the time, but I'm just saying that it is important that you make sure that you do block time out for your kids. You make sure you go to your kids' soccer games. You make sure that you are very involved in your kids.
Yeah, I totally see that. There's a couple of points there because I'm actually an older parent of this little guy that I'm raising here. He's 12, and so in this situation, his mom, let's say his mom is 55. Let's say she sees him twice a year, and let's say her passing is at 75, right? So there's 20 years. Like now, hopefully it's not like that, but here's the math, and you do this with your grandparents, and you do it with your godparents, and you do it with your older friends, and all this. But so she's got 20 years, and she sees him twice a year. She's only going to see him another 40 times. That's how you look at your children as soon as they move out of home, right? And that's where I love that tradition where people go, everybody comes home on Sunday for Sunday lunch. You know, that family tradition. I don't know in how many areas it exists anymore, but it definitely, you know, the Brady Bunch era of American life, you know, that was that, you know, 70s, 80s, you know, everybody went home on a Sunday to mum and dad's place. You know, all the kids turned up and the grandkids turned up and all that.
So now you're talking your age, and a lot of these people might not know who those people are.
I know. The Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch.
But it is true, right? I mean, and as I see people starting to grow their business, and you know, and a lot of people bash on these younger generations of, you know, they don't want to work or they don't want to do it. But, you know, I've seen these young guys starting these businesses and being very successful with them. And that's the thing that I really like about the younger generation is there's people that will do the things that you need to do. And if you don't do the things you need to do, you won't grow your business. And so that's the thing that I love seeing the 24, the 21-year-olds, the 19-year-olds, the 15, 16-year-olds starting pressure washing businesses, starting Christmas light business. I had a guy that was 17 years old. He was a junior in high school. He did $18,000 last year in 2023. We had a landscape lighting class. He came to that landscape lighting class. He took a week off of school to come up here. He brought his grandma up here. You know, how many people do you know that will take action and make it happen, right? And that's the whole thing about business. If you want to make business happen, you have to be consistent. You got to be relentless. And you got to be prolific, right? Because if you're not consistent at it, you will be failing fast.
Yeah, well, you'd love Ben Bergloff. He's like we're partners in Service Six Sigma, but I just call him the do man, right? He's just great at doing. And we interviewed somebody the other day whose life was possibly a little bit out of whack as we're talking. And then Ben said, so he asked them the question, like, how do you slow down, stop? Now Ben hasn't got a family yet. You know, he's got the higher family, but not the offspring. So he can work. I mean, in my opinion, Ben can work as hard and as long and as sleepless as he wants. You know, because he's 24. He's 24, right? Yeah. I mean, you're at that point. I think it is. There's a time that you can just put everything in. Isn't there, Jason? There's a time to put everything in.
There is. And actually, the guy that I was talking about is Fisher Keller, and he's actually on the live right now, or he just commented on here. So that's, you know, he's taking action. What 17-year-old would you think that would want to come listen to three old men talk about business? That's at 17 years old and wants to grow his business, you know? And that's about taking action. It is, you know, I know I talked about making sure that we set time apart for when we need to spend time with our family, but there is a time that, especially in the beginning, you got to do the hard work. There is no easy button. Everybody wants the easy button. How do I get leads? You know, I just want the easy button. And some of it might be going out there and door knocking. Some of it might be putting yard signs out. Some of it might be, and some of it, you're doing all of it, right? And you got to keep going.
100%. Yeah. And Ben, what I love about Ben, there's a lot of things, but also that he did start at 15. He started Epic Exterior Services. He's Epic Ben, by the way, if you want to know his, real name. And he started Epic Exterior Services. He had a different name. He rebranded it, went through all those processes, and come up with his Epic Exterior Services. And then he's got snow removal and Christmas lights and pressure washing and window cleaning and all, and he's 20, not even 24. He's turning 24 in a couple of weeks, aren't you, Ben?
In June, yep.
Yep.
So, but I mean, as I started my business, I was a full-time firefighter. We were broke. We didn't have a lot of, we had a lot of debt. And so my wife worked full-time at Toyota, headquarters here where we lived. And, it was one of those things that it wasn't easy to start this business. I nickel and dime a trailer together. One thing that I did do early is I did go to trainings. A lot of people think that you can just watch YouTube and you can learn a lot on YouTube. I got my pressure washing channel and I got a Christmas light channel, King of Pressure Wash and Christmas Lights Help. And both of them, I teach you how to do everything. But a lot of times what I've learned is if you don't, and even Perry, I mean, I learned a crap ton off of Perry's for doing exterior window cleaning back in the day. That was how I learned to do exterior cleaning, was through Perry. He probably had some of the best videos on how to actually do it. Everybody wants to have these secrets, but Perry was the one that taught me, you wash it 3 times and you bring it down. I learned all that from Perry off of his videos back in the day. I would put you and probably the person,
stuff.
the person that I learned from also is Michael Kreisley, who that is the channel that I bought was Michael Kreisley originally. And between you two were the first pioneers out there that just gave it all out there versus it's a big secret and we can't tell nobody. And if you ask a question, this was back in the day of the forums. If for you young people that don't know, it's a thing that's like or long gone pretty much. There's a couple out there, but it was this thing that if you asked a question, you would get hammered on how stupid you was and you need to just go run off a bridge because you're too stupid to ask that question. But you had people like that actually gave the video and told how it was. And so that's what I loved about helping. That's why I like to help people. And that's why I have hundreds of videos of breaking everything down to the simplest of the simple, because some people want to complicate all this stuff. And Perry was one that I could understand because he literally broke it down to the simplest simple. When I teach my classes for pressure washing training, I teach the method of how Perry taught me how to do it, because that's how I learned. And now I still teach it that way. And so it is definitely something that as we grow this business, as we learn, right, you are never too old to stop learning. You've got to keep learning. And when you think you know it all, you're going to be wrong. I'm sure Perry is, in his early 20s right now, is still learning every day.
Every day. Like Ben and I came up with a new product idea the other day, like he saw something which isn't right, and then he showed me and said, look at this. I mean, it's not right. And I go, oh boy, I think I know how I could make that right, So, and then you're always thinking and like that. But I think I definitely agree with you on the encouragement of everybody, young and old, to go to the huge or to the PWNA or PWMCA or the whatever orgs are out there, or the private training, or the training. Sometimes there are paid trainings before them if you can afford them, where they go on. I know John Tornabine will do, like a garage car park training. You know what I mean? And it's like you can never add. I went to Mexico and went to Carlos Gonzalez service station training session in I don't know where that is, Copacabana or somewhere like that, you know. But I flew from China, had to fly, it was 40 hours each way with Harrison. But there was nothing, in the end, I thought maybe there's something we can do with this industry, or maybe something we could learn from it. And there wasn't much that we could take away. I mean, apart from an amazing time. Carlos is a wonderful host. But, and we met some great people that we didn't know before. And, but you know, you can never learn too much. There's so much you don't know, isn't there?
And as technology is changing, right? It's changing the industry. It's going to change a lot more. Google is changing. If you're not using AI, it's something that's coming. And I just went to McDonald's and it was all AI through the whole thing of talking to the screen. It was all AI. Like, it was not a person there. And so as AI is coming along, you're going to see changes in Google. You're going to see changes in how people search for things. You're going to see, you know, it is going to make things easier for people that do struggle with certain things. You know, I use it all the time because I struggle with writing. And so it's a way that's a way that we can make excuses, right? Everybody's got excuses. And my excuse for a long time I always told myself I wasn't good at writing. And so when we tell ourselves these inner voices that we're not good or whatever, then we will believe it. And so don't be down on yourself. You're just not good at it right now. And so as these tools of AI and different things come out, you're going to see a lot of things changing. I think that, you know, in the next probably 2 to 3 years, you're going to, you know, anybody can do it, but it's back to who is going to do it. You know, one of my biggest pet peeves right now is people not answering their phone. You know, they want to spend thousands of dollars in marketing and then they don't want to answer their phone. And I have some people that are in my community and they were talking about this, and he does land clearing. And, you know, he's like, he was at $1,800 when he started my $1,800 a day, when he started my mentorship. And so I told him, I was like, you need to raise your prices. You got $200,000 worth of equipment here. You need to raise your prices. And so he did. And so he's at $2,500 now, and this has only been 2 months or 3, and he's getting it because he answers his phone. And as I was talking to him, I was listening to him, and what I was realizing is people are scared to answer their phone, is what I think it comes down to. There's a fear of what's on the other side of that phone call. Is it a bill collector? Is it a spam call? Is it a customer that I screwed up? And right, our brains will tell us and go over that versus this is a person that wants to pay you $1,000. This is a person that wants to pay you $20,000 to do, you know, lots of window cleaning or whatever it might be. And so, but then our brain also tells us at that point well, that's scary too, because when we look at scary things, our brain's always going to go to the scary part versus how awesome this could be, how much it could literally change your life by answering the phone.
Yeah, that's cool. So it's kind of like, oh my goodness, do you know the term which they gave Steve Jobs? And they kind of bagged him out, but it was basically something like reality distortion or something like that. That he would just reframe everything into the way he wanted to see it. You know, it's like and Apple, you know, with Steve Jobs is so different from Apple without Steve Jobs, because he was a do, you know, it needs to be like this and it needs to be like that. And they go, but that's not real. It is real in Apple. It is real in Apple. And the people hated him because he's so like, it's real. I can see it in my brain. So therefore it can be done. So do it. You know, it's, but that's kind of what you're doing in your, you know, with the phone phobia, you know, is just saying, no, flick a switch in your brain from, you know, counterclockwise to clockwise, and let your brain think in a clockwise forward towards something that you want, you know, as you go to answer the phone, isn't it?
Yeah. And, you know, it's kind of like you were saying in the very beginning of the different steps of the Six Sigma of if you don't start the first one off right, then it doesn't matter about the rest of them because you will fail as a business owner. And, you know, my goal is to help people make money, right? If you can't attract customers and can do number two to convert, well, you got to answer your phone to be able to convert them. And if you don't convert them, you can't do the rest of them. And that means you don't have a business. And you won't attract customers if you're not answering the phone in the first place. And so, because that gives us back to if you're answering the phone, that means you're giving amazing customer service, which means that will help attract more customers. And as you look at this, and as we're able to look at the whole 360 here, it's important that it all starts with the attract side of things, and answering your phone is part of that. Because if you don't answer your phone, this is a now society. This isn't nothing about he's going to call me back. I used him before and he will call me back. No, because this is a now society. We got Uber, we get it now. We got Amazon. I just talked about this the other day. Is if you have a wife, I about guarantee you that Amazon truck is at your house every day, or almost every day. I about guarantee it, because it's a now society. We don't want to wait for someone to call back, because they're not going, most of the time, they're not going to call you back. And, you know, I remember when I started my business, and everybody I think does this when they start their business, is they call 10 people, right? And even back in 2012, I called 10 people and I had one person answer the phone. One person. Guess how many people answer their phone now in 2024? One person still. And so, you know, there was a study done not too long ago that it's like 85% of the first person that someone talks to, it's 85% that you will get the job. So the number one part of this is answering your phone. You got to take action by answering your phone.
I love it. I love it. Well, it's interesting, Ben, isn't it? That you know, when we had, you know, JC Chanowski?
Mm-hmm.
Jason?
Yeah.
Do you know JC? Yeah. So JC's, he's spent the last year with an amazing lady called Angela. And Angela has a phone answering capability. We've also had April Dodson on from Bid Slot Marketing. She has an amazing phone answering. Then we had Kevin Dabrowski on, and he was talking about, you know, giving if I don't answer my phone within 3 rings, I'll give you $1,000 guarantee, right? So this answering the phone has got a really common theme of, we're up to episode 30, and in the 30 episodes, at least 4 of them have actually had a whole sector on how important it is to answer the phone. But here's the thing, Jason, which you alluded to before. People can listen to this podcast live stream and be very entertained with it and do nothing. Or I'll let you take it away. Nope, Jason.
Well, they can do nothing. They can do nothing, or you can answer the phone, right? And that's what it comes down to. And when you answer the phone, you'll be shocked that you'll make money, right? And that's the amazing part of owning a business. And, you know, it's one of those things that it's not that difficult. If you can't answer the phone, you know, you just mentioned 2 of the 2 or 3 people that you can let someone else answer your phone. And here before long, there's going to be AI answering the phone. And right now, Air can do it. It's not the best, but there's stuff that I've seen coming out that's way better that you won't even know that it is AI at the end of the day. And so, but even those things, you know, you've got to figure it out. You got to get it done. You got to take action. You got to make it happen. Because again, I know I'm kind of hitting on the take action stuff, and that's because Perry's like, well, what do we want to talk about? And that's the only thing that kept coming to my mind, and I always talk about it. So I was like, it is one of the things that that people sit there and want to hit the easy button. They want it to just come, and they ask me, how do you do this? How do you do that? And at the end of the day, it's the little things that's going to grow your business. It's the small steps that's going to set you apart from everyone else. And yes, answering the phone is one of the things that will set you apart from everybody else. But if you can get communication in your business and you do communication amazing, like you let them know every step of the way, you have videos on it, you call them, you text them, you call them on the night before, you call them on the way there, you take pictures in the middle of it and you send them to them, and you take pictures of it at the end and you send it to them, and you let them know that you're done, and you're asking for that 5-star review, and then you call them up a couple days later and make sure that they're happy and that you didn't miss anything, and then a week later you call them and just make sure everything is good, and if they need anything, and then you can ask for their referral. And it's all about those things that will set you apart from everybody else, because nobody else is doing it. Nobody else is first answering the phone, let alone doing all the other things that you need to do to be able to grow your business.
Yeah. It's so true, because Harrison, my oldest son, he's got a pug, right, as a dog. But Harrison travels a lot. He was in Japan last week, and he comes to Thailand every 6 or 8 weeks, and then he goes all over the place, right? But every time he travels, he has to put the pug in the dog we call it the dog hotel, right? Some people think that poor dog, he has to go into a dog hotel, and I go, like, he's in heaven. He gets to sniff butts like non-stop. It's like he gets to talk dog language instead of listening to humans who don't even understand me. But when he's in this dog hotel, and I call it a dog hotel because it's a dog hotel, they send videos and photos of Muttley. We call it, the pug's called Muttley, right? Muttley happy times, and they might take him on a walk and find a pub. They know all their local areas, so they know the park bench, and they know this and they know that, and then they take a photo of him smiling, on a park bench, and then there's a little bit of butt sniffing that he's happy, running around with all the other dogs, and but they send maybe 4 videos a day, and every week it'd be 2 or 3 classic portrait, which you'd pay $1,000 for a family portrait shop. They send that level of photo, and then they've got the swimming pool where they give him swimming training, because he's a pug. Pugs sink. They don't swim, right? They're like this. So he's got a little life jacket on him, and then they're teaching him to swim and stuff like that. And Harrison sends those videos to all of us in the family. Muttley's just fine, and it's those sentiments. If you understand that, everybody loves their own dog and all that, but the principle that you were espousing is actually, that's my home. My home is being looked after. My home is improving. My home is getting shinier. My driveway is getting cleaner. There is an emotion. It's the biggest investment anybody makes. So the more you show it off to them that you're looking after it, you're actually probably triggering. Well, I'm saying probably because it's not my. It works, right? I'm just talking, but it would seem to me that those people are going to get a real warm, fuzzy feeling when you do that.
Well, and a lot of times, right, it's why are they calling you in the first place? Is it because the house is dirty, or is it because the wife's nagging at them? Or is it because the wife's been asking the husband to do it for 6 months now? Is it because the dog needs a place to stay for a place, or is that what they're showing? Or are they showing how happy that dog is and how amazing that dog is right now? And so you'll want to go again and bring him back because he's having so much fun. It ain't about that you're paying to have him spend the night there.
Every time.
And you will go take your dog back there, and you're going to recommend everybody else because you're going to show all these pictures of how amazing your dog looks.
Yep, we do. And all now, it's like holiday time, because of, like, last weekend, Harrison went to Japan with Chris. Chris has got a dog. Chris's dog always goes to the same dog hotel. Now the two dogs go to the same dog hotel, and they're already friends. Then they go to the hotel together. It's like, the two lads have gone to Japan, and the two dogs have gone to the dog hotel. But there's emotion in there, isn't there? That's the thing. And we recommend it to everybody. And I think, you're laying a foundation of attracting new customers by looking after your existing customers at such a high level, aren't you?
And it's not about price either, right? Because I guarantee you that place isn't the cheapest place that you could take it to,
no.
Right? And a lot of times people are like, well, I don't want to do all that stuff because it's going to, I can't charge that much. Well, why can't you charge that much? Because you're doing all the little things that nobody else does. The book Alex Hormozi just wrote about he talks about how, when new people go to find out how much to charge, they call the 10 businesses and one business answers and they get this price, but yet they don't realize that business is ready to go out of business. So they're going to actually make their price cheaper than that guy's price and do better work, but yet don't realize that business is actually on its way out, going out of business. And so that's why you got to charge premium pricing, because we're not Walmart. We're not able to be the Walmarts of pressure washing. Walmart, they work on volume. I've seen something today that their profit is only like 3%, but they work on volume of number.
Yep. Hey, what's the name of that book, Jason?
$100 million leads is that one.
Ben, can you write that down and get us onto it? I'll see if I can track down. Do you know the author at all, Jason?
Yeah, Alex Hormozi.
Do you know him?
I don't know him
personally.
No,
okay.
I did not know him personally.
I'll reach out to him, Ben. See if you can track him down for me, and I'll reach out, see if we can get him on. Hey, Jason. The other thing, when you talk about you starting your business in 2012, do you know that the first time I came to America was 2012, and we had the idea to start the business in 2011, the Future of Cleaning, right? So we were completely 1 year old, maybe 2 years old as a business ourselves, when you met me at the first time, isn't that crazy?
Yep. That is crazy.
We were just living in an apartment. Harrison was assembling the poles. We could only buy 10 at a time. I had no money, right? We couldn't go out for beer or nothing, right? It was like crazy. And so I'd gone to China on another venture, and I'd lost the money that I had. I'd lost in that. So then I was backed against the wall with a 17-year-old son who'd left school at 16, and we're in China, and I had to deliver. And that's why I said to her, I'll be like there's a cartoon book like Dr. Seuss style, but it's called the Berenstain Bears, and the dad teaches the young guy, hey, we should take the high road or the low road. Oh, you should always take the high road, son. And then the high road's got potholes and all this, and dad gets injured, and dad goes, see, I just told you, I was showing you what not to do. It always ended, that he showed him what not to do. And I said to Harrison, I'll just go. And I was for 10 years, but I said, we'll either show you how it works or I'll show you how it doesn't work.
Well, and that's kind of interesting at that point, because I would have never knew that you were just starting at that point. And it's kind of back to kind of fake it till you make it, or get better at whatever you're doing, right? And so it's definitely something neat to see that where you even got that business too.
Yeah, because but I was a window cleaner before, so there was no lack of integrity in what I was doing, because I'd been a window cleaner and I knew what it was to be a window cleaner. So when I'm designing tools and saying this is how you do it, I was a thinker, from day one on this industry,
And the window cleaners really loved the water-fed pole back in the day.
Yeah. No, they didn't. And then they loved the internal tube, and they didn't like me taking the tube outside the pole. And then they didn't like me making poles that were extendable, because the resellers wanted to sell a 1-story pole, a 2-story pole, a 3-story pole, a 4-story pole, a 5-story pole. And I'm going why would somebody have to buy 5 stories? That's 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 9, 12. That's 15 stories of pole you've got, and all your cleaning is to 5 stories. Why can't I just make a 5-story pole that pulls apart 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or can be added on to 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's how that was my thing. I go, this is so inefficient and so unfair and such a rip-off, But funnily enough, 12 years later, people still sell poles with tubes on the inside, 1 story, 2 story, 3 story, and
Right.
But that's history. That's history, bro.
Yeah, it is. And
let's.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's interesting because, like I said, I remember the haters back then, but I pushed the whole water fed pole, exterior window cleaning. I don't like doing interior window cleaning, but it's a good way to add $200-300, $400 to a house wash, and it takes you 20 minutes to an hour, and you move on and go on to the next one. So,
yeah, it's nice. Hey, how many kids have you got? Like sharp segue.
So I have 2 daughters. My oldest is 15, and she is into soccer. She's a goalie. She actually just tore her ACL back in December. We were in St. Louis, but she's on travel ball. We travel all over the country with her. We've been to Seattle. We've been to New York. We've been to several places with her playing soccer. So that's my oldest. My youngest is 9. She'll be 10 here in about a month. And she's my she loves horses, and she does riding horses and stuff, but she's my so my oldest one is kind-hearted. My youngest one is cold-hearted, pretty much. So I think she will be the next business. She'll be the next business owner that can run over anybody and just make things happen. So,
so it's interesting that you say that you've got horses, because I was going to ask you, do you have horses? And the reason was when you were describing phone phobia, my mind was suggesting that it was very much like a horse on a windy day. A horse on a windy day is like flighty, because they use their ears to determine if there's a predator coming towards them. But on a windy day, their ears don't work, right? Because they just hear the whir of the wind going past. And, riding a horse or approaching a horse or doing anything with a horse on a windy day is not the same as, a non-windy day, is it?
No.
And that's that phone phobia, the way you described it was so much like that, like, I heard a sound. What is it? It could be somebody asking me to pay a bill, or it could be a job that's gone wrong and I haven't got time to. It's kind of like that.
Well, and it's back to excuses, right? We can always make an excuse for why not to answer the phone. And I hear them all. Well, I'm on a roof, or I'm driving, or I'm doing something else, or I'm on the phone, or there's 101 excuses of why you won't answer the phone. And it's one of the things that if you just answer the phone, some of it is scared of who is on the other line. What if they do want me to do $100,000 pressure washing job? And yes, there is $100,000 pressure washing jobs. There's $200,000 pressure washing jobs, but I don't know how to do that. Right. And so those are all things that will be fears in the back of our head that we have to overcome, or we're afraid of failing. You got it. The faster you fail, the faster you learn. And so that is in several books and different things of you have to learn to fail fast. And the faster you fail, the faster you learn. And the faster the mistakes you make, you won't make them no more, as long as you learn from them and move on and keep moving forward.
Definitely. I want to also ask you this, Jason, just from a personal level, because you worked really hard, 100 hours a week. And I think that there are a lot of guys that work 100 hours a week. And we talked with one of the people we interviewed, and we talked about, because I've actually lost marriage from being so future oriented and working so hard. And you worked 100 hours. So my question is this: A, did you get close to a threshold of your wife's tolerance? Or B, how did your wife support you? And did you have I'm gonna exit this 100-hour a week lifestyle date? Did you say in 5 years' time I will, and I promise, and you did, or whatever? How did you handle that? Her not having her husband, not having the father of her children, not having a family, because you're going to sleep after your 100 hours, right? Because you're shattered.
Right. And so, and that is something that I didn't have an exit plan for it. And when I sold the business, it was something got, that was a scary thing of me selling the business and not having that anymore. But you do have to worry about burnout, right? That is definitely something that when you work that much. Now, once we had everybody going, once we had 4 trucks, once everybody showed up to work and you didn't have to do anything, I was able to start cutting back some of it, especially toward the end. I was able to not be there as much. I was still there probably 30 hours a week, which I was still working my 56 hours for my firefighting job. And so it was one of those things that we just had a common goal to be able to for her to stay home, and that was one of our goals. So she was able to stay home with our kids. She homeschooled my oldest kid for almost 9 years. And so those are things that we were able to do by me not being there. So
Okay. And did she, like, if you're happy to share, but obviously not nothing too detailed, but the question is, do you think that if you'd have continued at 100 hours a week that you'd hit a line where things started to crack, or is she was getting what she wanted, and you'd already got this agreement that I might have to do this and you're going to be able to do that, and that's what we want to do together? Was it just close knitted anyway?
Yeah, I believe it was close knitted for that. And, one of the things that a lot of females need is security. And I was able to give that to her through financial security. And so that was one of the things that I was able to do by me working 100 hours. And, that's how I was able to give her the security that she needed. Of one of her needs was security.
And you both did not come from money, right? Because you mentioned before that you were struggling at some point.
I grew up poor. I've showed my house before way back when, and my dad was a bricklayer. He didn't make a lot of money. He didn't work all winter long. So growing up, we did not have a whole lot. So my parents never owned their house until I moved out. The house that we did find, well, I take that back. They did own one house, but they literally paid 20 grand for it. And so it wasn't that much, but it was something that
kept of a house. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
And what about your wife? So I'm guessing that she came from a similar socioeconomic background. Yeah.
Yeah, she did. She came from the same thing. Her dad used to make really good money until the 80s. And when the recession hit, then he lost his job. And so they were both school bus drivers for the next 20 years or 30 years, and they retired as school bus drivers. So,
yeah. So you can imagine, between the two of you, you're wanting to provide security because you'd grown up, in the turmoil and the trauma of day to day, living from pay packet to pay packet is the saying, right? And then and you both had, because you're a driven guy, like I'm guessing you must have been a nightmare at school. I'm thinking I wasn't very good
at school. I was actually homeschooled myself all the way through.
Really?
And I was homeschooled when homeschool wasn't cool. And I kind of struggled through school. I was actually really good. I'm really good with my hands. I'm really good mechanically with my hands. And so I actually went to vocational auto school in my junior and senior year. And from that, I was able to get a full ride to a college up in Lima, Ohio that does auto diesel technology associate. So I got an associate's degree in it. But getting through school, that's something that I never did very much, is read books. I struggled really hard at reading books. And so, my junior and senior year, I pretty much did that. I didn't even do school much. And so from that, I grew up in that. And I did get to go to the college. I struggled my first couple semesters, but once I learned how to start taking tests, I got straight A's. Everybody started cheating off of me. But it wasn't because I was book smart. I never looked at the book. I just could watch things as the teachers would teach, and then I would be able to do that. And so I never read books unless it had lots of pictures in it, because that's the only way I liked books, until about 4 or 5 years ago. And that's when I started listening to books, audiobooks, and I learned about audiobooks. And that was kind of my green light of, this is how I'm able to, and I didn't know back then of all the different types of learners, right? You got some people that can read and learn.
Yeah, you kinesthetic,
You got audio learners, you got visual learners. And so I didn't understand that back then. And so now that now I love listening to the books, right? That's one of my favorite things to do, is listen to books now.
Yeah. And that's so let's cover that just briefly for the people that are listening, because they also may not understand. And I kind of cut you off, it's truncated you're saying, but basically there are the education system provided by the government is predisposition towards people that can learn from reading and learn from a teacher reading and talking. You can see it on the blackboard and they talk, and then you can ingest and store that knowledge. However, if you don't naturally learn so much visually, in the sense like from an intake through your eyes, like reading, I don't mean visually by watching a movie, I mean visually by watching words and numbers and stuff like that. If you don't have that, then you would tend to be perceived as failing in the education system. And the other form of learning is the tactile kinesthetic, which is learning by hands. And those are the guys who normally end up, in the old days, would end up in a trade, and they're actually trade schools that were designed around, exactly what Jason's describing there, is that you actually touch and feel. And so there are guys who could disassemble an engine and reassemble an engine, never make a note, never make a sketch, never make a drawing, never nothing. Just touch, pull apart, touch, put back together, but those guys, as a rule, don't do so well at the traditional high-speed education, system through the university. Yeah. And so if you're one of those other people, it's okay. Just understand that you're different, and then go work out how you learn, and then learn that way. Find even if you have to find a mentor, or you have to pay somebody to take you out and say, I'll pay you $1,000 a week if I can tag along with your business and learn how you do your business, because I can't learn any other way. I have to do it, isn't it?
That's exactly right. And that was something that my wife had a hard time, because my oldest daughter, she's super smart. Like, she loves math. She loves all that stuff, but she struggles with reading too. And so a lot of times, like even myself, I'll read it out loud so I can actually listen to it. And so when my wife started teaching her, she didn't understand why she couldn't pick it up. But then once you start learning about, yourself and how to learn, that's how we were able to be like, hey, this is why it's important that we read out loud, so we can listen to ourselves. And even my youngest daughter, she can read a book and understand it and go through it with no problem. And so that's kind of interesting of how, different kids bring different talents from that. My oldest, she loves math. Like, she's in geometry, she's getting A's, everything. She's done, she does it for fun, right? That's the fun stuff she does. And so me, when it comes to fractions, I'm not doing very good. I'm struggling, let alone we get into harder stuff. So
But pricing,
pricing, I'm all about making those $100 bills, and you got to ask for it, right? Most people are scared to death to ask for premium pricing. I seen Jason Hefner's on here tonight, and he called me, and he was one of my first guys that I was in my mentorship that I had, and he was one that I was like, you got to do this. And he's like, but Jason, you don't understand. Like, he literally spent his last money to give me money to do my mentorship, so I would one-on-one him. And about 2 weeks in, he's like, Jason, you don't understand. You can't get that down here. There's only $99 guys down here. And I was like, you got to quit worrying about what everybody else is. And he just put on here that he did $250,000 last year part-time. He's a full-time firefighter. He doesn't work Saturdays and Sundays. If he does work a Saturday, he has to take his kid. He has to make enough on that Saturday to take his kids to Disney. And so that's what's cool about working and being premium pricing. Now, does he have a high close rate? No, he don't have a high close rate. His close rate's in the 30%. But who cares if your close rate's in the 30% if you're going to make $250,000 and work part-time? Because he's still working a 56-hour week. He works every third day as a firefighter and bringing that kind of money in. And so that's why it's important that you understand that you don't want to be the cheap guy. You want to be the most expensive guy. You want to be laughed off people's properties because you're that expensive.
That is good. Well, that's while we remember, if anybody was inspired, which I'm sure there are, and they wanted you as a mentor, do you have slots available?
I do have a few slots available through the mentorship. I have a membership that my King of Pressure Washing, but my mentorship is more. It's a little bit more one-on-one. It is I do have a Marco Polo app, so it's you actually get to talk to me one-on-one versus not getting talked to me.
So how would people, if somebody wanted to, so you got two levels. One is kind of like a group thing where you talk to the group, right? And you give your advice, and then they've got to take it on board and apply it themselves. And the other one is that they become accountable back to you, and you can get a little bit deeper in what's actually going on, where you know more about what you're talking into rather than the generalization, which you do when you're talking to everybody. Yeah,
that is correct.
How would they approach you?
So the King of Pressure Wash one, that's my whole membership. And that one, if you go to King of Pressure Wash, like online training, or just go there, it'll take you to my online training. And that is actually all my online training stuff. And then every Monday night, we have a Zoom call for that one. If you go to kingofpressurewash.com/mentorship, is the one that you actually get me. Marco Polo app, we sit down, we go through your business. There's about, I'm capping it out around 10, 11-ish, and we're at like 8 right now. So I don't want too many because then I can't make sure that you're getting what you need.
Yeah, and you got the family time.
And I've got to have family time.
Let's come back to that balance.
That's right.
I want to go back on this family time because and I appreciate and that's good. So anybody who's interested should contact Jason for that for sure, because you definitely talk just straight at the point. I think that's what's maybe possibly different to other mentors, because it depends. The mentor that you choose should be somebody that the way they communicate is the way you hear. Like, you know what I mean? If somebody's got a whole lot of filters and they're polished, and you're not polished, then their language patterns and the way they persuade, is going to be quite different, and you're going to have to interpret it, kind of thing. Where like I use convoluted words and things like that. So, but I think, Jason, you just talk like just as it is, as it needs to be, and then anybody, I think, can just listen to it and go, okay, I and there's no filters. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to have to interpret what you're saying. You need to put your prices up. Like, it's not like, like if you increase your price by $100, like, what's your net profit? Your net profit is this, and so therefore, we do that, and your net profit will do that, and you're going to just put your prices up. Do it. Take action now.
But that is the truth, right? I mean, that's what. I am that type of person. You're right, 100%. I'm not the numbers types of person of why all the little intricate things. And I know it's important, and I push my people to do that stuff because it is important, because a lot of people don't know their numbers. And that's why they don't understand why they need to raise their prices, is because they don't even know their numbers. They don't know that right now they're losing money to be in business. And they think that they're making $100, $200 an hour. In reality, you're not making you're not making enough to pay the bills. And so it is important that, I am a simple person. I mean, you can go through my videos. I break things down to the simplest of the simplest, or I try to, so that way you can grow your business, because, ultimately my goal is to help 1,000 people make $100,000 a year, because I do believe that it will change your life. And that's my goal, is to help people do that. Now, do I try to get the people to make $5 million? No, because I don't know how. I've never had a business to 5 million. I've had a business to $1 million. I can get you to $1 million. I can probably get you to 2 million, but I'm not the person that if you need to go to, 10 million, I'm not the one that you need to be talking to. You need to be talking to somebody else that has been there and has grown their business. And,
I like that.
I've seen a lot of, I think we're going to see a lot more business coaches, right? They started their business last week and now they're a business coach. And so you're going to start seeing a lot more of this, and you just got to be careful of who you're listening to.
Yeah. And I agree completely. You need to be able to discern that the person has been where you are, step one, and has been or is where you want to be, and is like you, right? So like I always go, like time management, an accountant's time management is not my time management. My time management is really simple. What is the most important thing for me to do right now? And I've never run a diary. Diaries don't work for me, right? Maybe I've got a Zoom call scheduled, I had one this morning at 7, but so I've got to set an alarm for myself. I've got something is actually happening. Other than that, I am just running 100% on what's the most important thing. Now, people would say that's crazy, but I could tell you that every businessman in China works that way. An entire nation of business people do not run diaries.
Right.
Like I can have an appointment with that guy, with a businessman, and I was selling $1 million product, right, when I went to China. And we'd have an appointment with $1 million product, right? Solar thermal for whole of hotels, like lifetime of the building, like top of the line stuff. And we'd be sitting at, 10 to 12. We've arrived early for a 12 o'clock appointment, and some other guy will come in at 2 minutes to 12 and just walk in front of us. And I go, what is that? We got a 12 o'clock appointment. And he goes, that guy's more important than we are. So he got the time. And that's how that's how Chinese business people work. And that's so it's an accountant telling me how to run time. This is I'll go full loop. An accountant telling me how to run time doesn't work with my personality. An accountant trying to mentor my business, I wouldn't be able to relate to him, because he would be in 6-minute sections and breaking things down into numbers, and you know what I mean. So you got to find a mentor. And then the other one is the guy who's bought a business and then he wants to mentor you, but he never started it from zero. He never door knocked. He never had no customers. Like when I started Reach It, we had no customers. Right. So we had to find customer number one to buy one of the 10 poles that I'd made.
That you hope would sell, right?
Well, my pitch was this, because I'd imported some poles, right?
Right.
And I had a 1-story pole and a 2-story pole and a 3-story pole and a 4-story pole and a 5-story pole. So I was selling whatever height you wanted to clean to. Okay, you need a 3-story pole, and then later on they'll come back and go, God, this is heavy when I'm cleaning 3 stories. Oh, I'll give you a 2-story pole. It's lighter for your 2-story work. And then, I can't, like in the walkway between the fence and the house, this thing just can't fit on the ground floor. Like the fence is in the way. Oh, you need a 1-story pole, right? Ground floor pole. That's only, 3 feet or 3.5 feet or 4 feet or whatever it was, And then I came up with this idea that people shouldn't have to buy all these poles. They should just have one pole. So I made basically the first pull apart, pole. The first one was a 5-story pole that pulled apart and had a shorter section for number one. Because in those days they weren't 100%. Maybe our very first poles weren't. Maybe they were, but maybe they weren't 100% carbon fiber. The very first ones when they had the red clamps. It wasn't even our clamp at those days. But most people don't have their own clamps. But anyway, that's another story. So that pole was able to clean 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That was how Reach It started. And then we made the mini because I realized the clamps were all way up here and nobody could reach them, and they go to push the pole up and it only goes up 6 inches at a time. You had a Pro. In the days of the Pro, that still had that problem, Reach It Pro.
Right.
And then we made mini, and then we made Warrior to replace the Pro. So again, the clamps are within reach of the average worker who's normally 5'8", not 6'6", like I am. You know.
I know. I didn't have no problem with it because I'm just as tall. I'm a 6'6" also, so I didn't have no problem with the bigger poles.
Yeah, but then you get a little frame person, and he's like 2 inches at a time, or he's got to lean it over so he can extend it, lay it out on the ground, and then try and lift it up and all that. Like those were the days. Anyway, so I really think, trying to align yourself, with the right person, and then people can relate, and talking with you today, can relate how you talk and go, okay, you talk straight, and that's what a nice mentorship that would be if somebody just said it as it is and you just go and do it.
You just got to do it. And whether it's Christmas lights, pressure washing, you just got to do it. That's the whole thing of it. It isn't going to come easy. It's not going to always work, but you just got to do it. And you're going to learn from your failures. When you do it, you will learn from your failures and you will make things happen. And, I do love Christmas lights, and Christmas lights is the same as pressure washing at the end of the day. If you're not answering your phone, you're not going to get it. I always teach people to charge $8 to $12 a foot for Christmas lights, and people think that I'm crazy, right? And it's one of those things that I always hear that you can't get that in my area. And that is the words that just drive me crazy. I mean, it's like one of those, nails on a chalkboard when they say you can't get that in my area. And I'm like, you're right. You can't get it in your area because that's what you believe. And so Christmas lights I love doing Christmas lights. I've been doing pressure washing for a long time, but Christmas lights is one of the things that is the most fun. Whenever you clean somebody's houses, you don't see them come out there and say, wow, and they start crying on you and everything. But when you light up somebody's house, They come out crying and jumping up and down. And I mean, it's just one of the most exciting things you'll ever feel.
Wow. Wow. That's so cool. That is so cool. Hey, I'm going to ask you this question as well, because we're both, have this, if you look at the wheel of life, and there's all the spokes in the wheel of life, there's family, charity, community, that one, the 6 or 7 spokes of life. And I think you and I and Ben are all in the same, our wheel ain't round, we're trying to keep it round, but we love work, so it's kind of like got a pointy end on our, it's like a face with a pointy hat on it. And it's like, sometimes in life you're trying to go forward and you're going over this bloody out of round work point, and I love it, and even if Paul showed me this, it's very difficult to think about retiring actually. I can retire from Reach It and give it to Harrison and say, okay, your turn, but I'm going to go and do something else, But what I do want to talk with you is just like candidly, how long should somebody work 100 hours a week before do they just keep doing it until they make it, or do they pivot if it's, because you know what I'm trying to say? Like there is actually
I know what you're saying.
Family time, there's a transition point that you've got to slow down, make it a little bit more round,
I think it's one of those things that a lot of times why you work 100 hours a week is because you are scared to hire the people that you need to hire to buy back your time, right? The book Buy Back Your Time is a great book, an example of this. If you're working those things and you don't think someone can run the truck, or you need to do this, there comes a point that you can only do that for so long, or otherwise you are going to burn out. You're probably going to get divorced. You're probably going to have other things that happen to you at that point, because your body can only take that for so long, and you're going to get sick. And because you're not allowed, when you go to church and you get refreshed spiritually, right? Or when you come home and you get to have time with your kids and wife, right? That's refreshment. That's why you're doing it. A lot of times we're doing it for them, but yet we're not there for them. And I will tell you that you being there for them is way better than anything that you can buy them because you're working 100 hours a week. Pay somebody to start doing things so that you can start cutting off your time, and then make sure that you spend quality time with your kids and family, because you might be working 100 hours a week, but you might have to sit down 30 minutes and play a game with your kids or do something with them, go to their ball games, go to the, my parents never really went to my ball games. I didn't play that long, but they never did much of that stuff. I go to every one of my kids' games, and it's one of those things that I give my time. Now I make sure that I'm going to take time out and go out with that. Right now, I'm in a different season of life. I'm in this where I'm teaching people to grow their business and do this. I eat lunch with my wife almost every day now. So I did the hard things then that allow me to do the things now to do this. And I want to get back to one other thing here too, on talking about our wheel, our round wheel here. You need to make sure that we are doing the other things, because in the picture of the Six Sigma here, if you want to give, right, and giving can be a lot of different things. I'm one of the things that maybe you give at church. A lot of people don't, right? But you can give to that. You can give to other things. You can do things that will give you more fulfillment than making millions and millions of dollars, right? Because you can make millions and millions of dollars, and you're probably not. The most people out there that make a lot of money aren't always happy. And so that's not going to make you happy of making all of this money, because in the end, you're going to lose everything. And once you lose everything, that's a problem. And so I'm not saying you can't have to do the 5 hours or 100 hours a week, but I did it for almost probably 3 years straight is what I did it for 3 years straight before I was able to get to a point that I wasn't doing it no more.
Yeah, I think 3 years, 5 years, but and the other thing which I think is very, I have a saying which I try my very best to keep to, is before I do, I think what I said, and before I speak, I think what I can do, so that I'm trying to keep my words synchronistic with my integrity as I perceive truth to be today. Now, the world changes, and the future is an imagination, so we can't align it perfectly, but we try. And then I think for people who have got spouses that support them to provide and to build on a dream, with a promise, with a hope that tomorrow, the next day, in the future, we will be more safe, we'll be more secure, we'll be more sound, and more financially stable. Remember that conversation, because you may have said, I'll do this for 5 years, and you have to, and this is what I did wrong, right? Is that I went for more than 5 years, So she had 5 years of support in me. She didn't have 10, because I said, I'll deliver by 5, right? And I could have pivoted it. I could have had the conversation and asked for another 5. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that it's just as black and white as that. It's just got to think what you've said. Remember what your agreement is, how long she's going to do this for, and make sure you revisit it, and make sure that her imagination of what she's doing this for is still within your believable deliverable. But if she's imagining you're going to have this big mansion on the beach, and you're going, holy hell, this thing's never going to give us, it'll give us a house, but it ain't going to give us the mansion on the beach that we thought about. We need to adjust that imagination to the future and make sure that she's supporting you for something you can deliver. And you have to remember that she is supporting you based on a promise. And you have an agreement that you need to make sure you remember, because she's remembering it, quite possibly.
Well, and your spouse needs to be your biggest cheerleaders, right? It's what I always tell people. And I know that's not always the case. And, Jason Hefner's on here tonight. and his wife is a big cheerleader of him, and they've done it all together. You know, I went and met him about a year after he started his business and that. And when she comes to me crying because she went to the eye doctor and she didn't have to pick between contacts and glasses, she got to buy both, and how thrilled she was for that. And so
Wow.
that right there, I mean, that about broke me down at that point, because you know, I'm helping people to change their life for the better. You know, when Jason, he started a painting company as doing this, and he was struggling very hard. And from that, he's been able to do 250,000. You know, he's able to take his parents or his kids on vacation, and he's able to give his son everything that he would have never been able to do if he hadn't had a successful business. And so, you know, if your spouse is on board with you, yes, they will stick with you. They will make it through with it. And as an entrepreneur, it is a crazy road. It isn't easy. It's not always sunshine. I mean, when stuff happens, everything happens. When the trailer wheel falls off the trailer, the truck blows the motor, the transmission out of another one, it all happens on the same day. It usually does. So it's just chaos.
And that's why you need to be profitable. Look at that. And Andrew, must be his son, has $1 million smile, 2 sets of braces. Jason, reach out to me if you can on Messenger, like facebook.com/perry.tate. And we'll, if you want to, like, we'd love to have you on Service Six Sigma, because it sounds like you had an amazing story and synchronistic with, you know, Jason working as your coach. And Ben has pushed the button. Oh yeah, it's 75 minutes. We're done, Jason. Ben took action. Hey, stay on, Jason. Stay on a little bit if you just want to debrief and have a bit of a chit chat. You know, if you have to rush, you rush. Right? Okay, sweet. All right, thanks, Ben.
All right, we want to thank everybody for joining tonight, and please watch Monday's show as we have another guest. All right, we'll see everybody later. Hello there, Ben here with Epic Exterior Services, president and co-founder of Service Six Sigma. We want to thank you for joining our live stream today. We appreciate any feedback is welcome. Please comment on our future posts and live streams. We always love to see the engagement in our live streams. Always ask questions, always post your comments, and reshare this video with your friends, family, Facebook, social media. Share it everywhere as much as possible. We would highly appreciate it. And if you know of a guest that would be great for our live stream, please pass them our way. You can visit our website, service6sigma.com, and there is a guest contact form that way, and we will interview that guest to make sure they are a good fit for our live stream. Again, thanks again for joining our live stream at 7 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we will see you next time.